Hi there, superchargers. It's time for science today, and we're going to first open the assignment, and I'll have this video embedded in um, the assignment, but I also want you to go to the slideshow that I have linked at the beginning of it. Okay. We don't need a picture of me on there with my messy hair today. So there are questions, but we need to look at our slideshow first and kind of look at the highlights. Some of this stuff that you guys have already learned, but we kind of need to just kind of make sure our thoughts are all on the same page together. So looking at the slideshow, chemical reactions, loading, of course, never quite ready, slow internet. Ha! You guys are familiar with that by now, aren't you? It's a pain, isn't it? Let's go. Okay. So there's a short video about untamed science. I hope that we get to watch that in class together. This beginning, My Planet Diary, talks about the chemical reaction that takes place for bees to make honey. It's kind of interesting, and how that they take in that nectar from the flowers and the water evaporates and they spit in the mouths of house bees, and how that chemical reaction takes place to create honey that we love. Okay, so we're going to talk about the different kinds of chemical bonds that can form in this next chapter or section, unit, whatever. And ionic compounds are one of those, and they consist of positive and negative ions, and we're going to talk more about those next week. We'll be talking about mass, which is the amount of matter in an object, and the chemical formulas. I'm going to expect you to be able to write chemical formulas and write chemical reactions out too, and balance the equations. So that'll be interesting. So we have a couple vocabulary words here at the beginning, matter and product, and there are everyday meanings for these words. A matter might be a subject for discussion or concern. A product can be anything that's created. But in science class, matter is anything that has mass and takes up space, and a product is what we end up with in our chemical reaction. So we have reactants at the beginning of our chemical reaction, and we have products at the end. Okay, there's a whole bunch of vocabulary words that we're going to go over, not today, but eventually. We'll be using all of these terms. I like this one because it talks to you about all the different elements that are used and their effect in fireworks. So adding a little strontium gives us red color, barium gives us or green, and even sounds or smoke. So we'll talk more about fireworks as well. Now, the way that elements combine to form compounds depends all about how many outer ring electrons there are. Now, remember, the word for outer ring electrons is much easier to say it by valence, right? Valence electrons. So the number of valence electrons helps us determine the chemical properties of the element, and it helps us to figure out which other elements that it will make compounds with. So we make dot diagrams to help us figure that out. Remember we talked about dot diagrams before? Oh, no. I'm going to have to end this video and start a new one.